Well, everybody, how is everybody doing this summer? How is your summer going? I hope it's going well. I know it's going hot, that's for sure. It's been a hot summer. Oof. Wind up spending most of my time in the air conditioning. I'm sure most people do the same. Anyway, folks, as I told you in the beginning of the summer, that due to the lack of news that goes on when everybody's away on vacation and all the clubs don't meet and school is out and the sports take a break, well, there's really nothing to report. So instead, I do have one bit of news today, but I also am not going to number this as an episode because this is a special episode. I was very happy to sit down with John Cappiello, who is a local realtor here in Lyndhurst, the other day, and to talk about Lyndhurst Real Estate. Now, nobody knows it better than John. John's born and raised in Lyndhurst. And in fact, John and I grew up on the same block. And everybody knows John is a wonderful guy, heart of gold, and is in this business because he is passionate and desires to help people. So I had seen him at the feast, which, by the way, the feast was fantastic this year. And thanks to everyone who helped out and volunteered, as well as the high school football team, who always helps us break everything down and clean it up on Saturday night. So thank you, fellas, and Coach Tuero as well. So I ran into John during the feast, and we had a quick conversation. And the idea hit me. I said, there's a lot of questions about Lyndhurst Real Estate that I think people would like to hear about, because right now we've got houses that are listing for well over $1 million now. It's absolutely amazing. And John explains some of the reasons why that is, what we can expect, and what any homeowner can expect, and what the market's been like here in Lyndhurst, and where he sees it going. And we also talked a little bit about apartments and because rent is so high as well. And it's not a phenomenon that is exclusive only to Lyndhurst, but it's a great conversation. It's about 40 minutes, so put on a cup of coffee or something, or sip a cup of tea, and you'll sit back and enjoy a nice conversation with John Cappiello. John Duke Cappiello, by the way. Duke, everybody knows him as Duke. That's his nickname. But the one bit of news I do have, and this is courtesy of Tom Witt from the Lyndhurst Veterans Alliance, who wanted me to make sure I put this out there. So this Saturday, July 27th, and I did tell him, I said, Tom, a lot of people are away. A lot of people don't listen to this until the weekend. But anyway, this Saturday, July 27th, if you bought a veterans banner, the ones that are on the streets, this is the picture retrieval day. So whatever picture you have provided of your family member or yourself for the banner, come down to the Senior Citizen Building, and that's on Cleveland Avenue, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. to pick up your picture. So again, that's courtesy of Tom Witt from the Lyndhurst Veterans Alliance, this Saturday, July 27th. Okay, well, without further ado, sit back and enjoy this very informative and enjoyable conversation that I had with John Cappiello the other day in his office, all about Lyndhurst Real Estate, and I certainly hope you all enjoy it. Okay, John, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. I know the listeners are going to very much enjoy what you have to say, because real estate is on everybody's mind. We are seeing homes in Lyndhurst sell at record high amounts, and we got a lot of things going on, so why don't you tell us about who you are, your background, and what do you see as the state of Lyndhurst in real estate, and where do you think it's going?
Okay, hey everybody, how are you? My name's John Cappiello. I've been selling real estate in town since 2004. I opened my own practice, more real estate brokerage, in 2011. We've been selling in local Lyndhurst real estate. I'm fortunate enough to where the town I'm born and raised in for 56 years. I'm trying to make myself a little younger.
I forget too, my own age.
But, we've been here, selling for 20 years, and the township is definitely going through some transitions in regards to real estate, and in a positive way. We're seeing numbers, unprecedented numbers, nothing like we've ever seen before. And I think that's a really big reflection on the township itself in regards to where our taxes are. And when I say that, where they are, is if we took the four towns that surround us, and which is North Arlington, Nutley, Rutherford, and Secaucus. Even though Nutley and Secaucus have a river between us, if you and they're two different counties, but if you look at their taxes as compared to ours, it's hard to compete. You know, you're looking at good, could be 10, 15, 20% more.
Yeah.
North Arlington's a little tough because half the town's a cemetery,
right.
and if that was a residential area, I think they'd be on the same lines as us. But for what we have as far as property size, as far as our town services, whether it be the police department, DPW, Parks Department, our volunteer EMTs and fire department, they're second to none. Nobody could really touch us whatsoever in that aspect of it. So and not to mention, we are considered a transit town. Now we have that new transit village going up, and so I think we're going to lose one of our stations. But
we are Kingsland.
Yeah, with the Kingsland station. But looking at it, if you were to jump on a train and get into Manhattan, barring any New Jersey Transit delays, which are having a lot of today, but I mean, what could it take?
Less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say 20 minutes at most, but and it's there. So that's a big draw to our town. Not to mention, we have one of the best ShopRites going. I did advertise once years and years ago, and they told me at one point there was 40,000 people that went through there in a week.
Wow.
And those numbers can definitely be inflated now, but that's the geographic that I was told. And just the sense of neighborhood that a lot of some towns are losing, we're not losing that as much. You still, our school systems are always in the progressiveness to getting better. I know that comes up a lot, but 3 of my 4 children are college graduates, went all through the Lyndhurst school system. A boy that I coach when he's 9, who's not a principal of the middle school, went to Notre Dame.
Michael Rizzo.
And I just seen him the other night at the feast, and his son is going there.
Yeah, isn't that great?
And just seeing the schools that these kids are going to, and that's a big thing to go to our education system. Not only our Board of Education, but our teachers and our coaches. Our Richie Toro and them guys, Patty and Joe Casagnetti, they're doing an awesome job, and it's a reflection. And these kids they're becoming men.
Absolutely,
they're becoming men. And as far as for us, as for me, I see it firsthand. But I can relay that to people who are buying or people who are going to sell. And this is what the draw, and this is why we're going to get the amount of money we're going to get for your house. It's not only because of your house or your neighborhood or your lot size or whatever, but it's the draw of Lyndhurst. And you as a Lyndhurst guy forever, like me, this is what we want for our town.
Absolutely.
And when, right now, year to date, you're looking over $600,000 average home price.
Yeah.
And it's a little different because there's not as many homes that have sold, but still, in the past 6 months, that's a lot of money to pay for anybody.
Sure, yeah.
For anybody. So I think the state of where we are and why the market is still staying strong is the inventory is low.
Right. So a supply and demand issue.
Exactly. We got about a 2-month absorption rate if we were to go, by the numbers. Mm-hmm. And, which is good, but yet, when it dries up, it dries up.
Yeah.
And the reason being is in the past 3 years or so, when you had interest rates in the 3s and in the 3.5s or even less, some people I know that got under 3 percentage rate as far as interest rate goes, it's hard to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm considered a listing agent. I do work with some buyers, but I'm considered a listing agent. So if you looked me up, you'll see I represent a majority of people are sellers.
Right.
Are sellers, but it just it's a good reflection on the town. Now, Bergen County, which we are considered, is the highest average median home rate in the state.
Yeah, that's true.
And the only one town, the one county that sold more, I believe, in inventory wise, I think it was Monmouth County. We got a lot of people coming from up here that are moving south.
Yeah.
So it's ever changing the market. I could be coming to you 6 months from now and saying it's dead, but I don't foresee that in the near future. I don't foresee it in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, short of something really tanking in the economy, which would mean it would be that way everywhere.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Exactly. And you know what? As long as the inventory can stay consistently where it's at, we're always going to have somebody, a couple of things that I pulled up like this. If the median house right now is $585,000 that's listed for, you have 58 people that are saved prospect searches within the New Jersey MLS, meaning their agents put in their criteria. This is the number that they want to spend. This is the amount of bedrooms they need or whatever. And this is the town they want, Lyndhurst. You got 58 people looking.
Wow.
And to sell a home, we only need one.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, like my grandfather used to say, there's an ass for every chair. We just need one. We don't.
That's right. Yeah.
So, that's a good way to look at things, but it also depends on the product. So if you got a decent home, we price it right. Sometimes we price it a little lower to get higher, or sometimes we come in just
bidding
right.
war, right?
Well, a lot of people love to see that. Having more than one offer is always a good thing.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing. It doesn't hurt, and it makes you kind of look a little bit better. Look at the superstar. But if you got a good product and you price it right, it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell. Well, you can't just. There was a time in the market back in the 2004, 2005, you put a shack out there and you charge $500,000 for it and you're getting it. The buyers are so much more, they're a lot more savvy today. They know the market. The internet has shown between Zillow and between all these outlets, and whether it be Realtor.com, or just a real estate website as far as these companies go, even my own. It'll show you what the values are and what's what, So they're going in and they're seeing firsthand what. If the house is overpriced, it's going to be overpriced.
Right.
So just grit it and wait, and you're going to have to do a lot of work to say let's lower it, or let's do another open house, or maybe you should paint that room that was bright pink with purple polka dots. Some things that people just can't see past. In that sense. So that's really where we're at with it. I mean, supply and demand is always going to take its toll, and as long as the economy is going the way it's going, and we're not losing jobs, you're always going to, home ownership, I think, is the best way to show where down the road your investment to your money. I mean, the stock market's but the stock market's like, it's a gamble.
Sure.
Your 401ks go up, go down. Real estate progressively went up and up and up, and if you can afford the down payment and you can afford to make the mortgage payments, Lyndhurst is the place to be.
Yeah. No, I've always said that.
Lyndhurst is the place to be.
And the other thing, too, I mean, for most people, their home is their single most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
And most people will spend 30 years in their home.
Absolutely. There was one point they used to say the national average rate that people would stay in their home was between 8 and 10 years. But we things are different than when our parents were younger. It used to be 30 year fixed,
right.
30 years you pay that off, that's your retirement, or whatnot. Or you live, for the rest of your life not paying a mortgage. Between divorces, between jobs, situations, stuff like that, COVID. So, you just don't know, but it's about, home ownership is more than just, let me get it paid off. You want to feel comfortable. Whether you live there 5 years, whether you live there 25 years, you want to be comfortable in a place where you know your neighbors, you can count on your neighbors, you have decent taxes, and Lyndhurst gives you that.
Yeah.
It really does. And it all depends on how you look at it. I don't look at Lyndhurst with rose-colored glasses, but I'm born and raised here. I own 2 homes in Lyndhurst now. I grew up the street from Brian. We grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools. So, it's Lyndhurst. It's still that good hometown. And if you came down to the feast last week, 2 weeks ago, it. It's just you see the same people. It's like a reunion. It's a lot of fun. They always come back.
They always come. They do. They do.
They always come back. So.
Oh, I loved it down there.
Yeah.
It was a great time this year.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I'm glad we connected, and because I'm not a big drinker, so but I was like, oh, let's go to the beer garden, let's check it out. And of course, we seen 30 people that we knew, and it became a little party. So it was nice. It was nice. So
yeah. What are your thoughts on the rent? Rent seems to be unbelievably high as well. I mean, because that's a different market.
It's tough. It's tough, and I'm going to tell you how tough it is. The way I looked at it, I was fortunate enough that I bought a 2-family on Copeland Avenue, so then my daughters could live in it.
Right.
And it was a good investment for me, but it was also for them, so they didn't have to pay the crazy amount of rents that they would have to pay for what they have.
Sure.
It's nuts. And but there's a brand new house on Green Avenue. They just listed both apartments, brand new. And one was $4,100 for the first floor, and the second floor was $3,500.
How many bedrooms in that 4,100?
I think it's 4 bedrooms. It's 2 floors, but still $4,100.
Yeah, that's a mortgage payment.
Of course,
More than a mortgage payment.
And what you see with those type of rentals, it's different than if you had a $1,600 a month 1-bedroom or something,
Right.
because that person may be there 5, 7, 10 years if you get a nice retire. I put a woman who worked in ShopRite in Michael and Debbie Duffy's house on Livingston Avenue. This was 19 years ago. She's still living
there. Huh?
She's still there.
Wow.
He goes, I'll never get rid of her. But and that's, I take pride in that, because you know what, it's always good when you could put good people in with other good people, and it works out, in that sense. I'm sorry.
No problem. He has to take a phone call.
No, I'm just gonna shut it. That's the office phone. It's just, I get more scam calls than anything.
We all do.
Oh my God, even on the office, but to see the rents go where they are, how could you afford it? And with those type of numbers, those people aren't staying long. You get them for a year, and it's going to be a complete turnaround, and you got to go through the rigmarole trying to find somebody else. So, but these type of houses, you're selling them for $1.2 million, brand new construction, and you have to get $3,000 just to cover
that part. Yeah, the taxes on the assessment on a new construction.
I think it's 2.5% of the sale price.
Oh my gosh. So
think about it, 1.2, that's $24,000 plus another quarter or half of that. It could be $36,000. So you got to make it up somehow. But some of these other apartments, these glorified 1-families that were turned into 2 back in when they could do whatever they wanted. Yeah. But they are still 2 families, and for a 2-bedroom, if you're getting $2,000, $2,200, you should be considered doing well.
Yeah.
But there's an influx of a lot of apartments for rental in Lyndhurst. There's about, I think, 19 to 20 apartments now available. So it's not as, although the numbers are inflated, they're not as, you see some sitting, and that becomes a concern, because now people, again, instead of dropping it $200 and giving, thinking about it, all right, I'll save $2,400, they'll leave it empty for 3 months.
Oh wow!
And now you're losing money.
Yeah, you're losing. Sure.
If you do the math, saving $200, taking $200 off the rent. So say instead of $2,200, it's $2,000 for the year. That's $24,000. $200 a month, you're losing $2,400. What are you losing? A month's rent?
Yeah.
So I mean, instead of having it empty for 3 months.
Right.
So some people like to cut off their nose to spite their face per se, but it's their money. They could do what they want, but it's not easy. The rentals are a little crazy, but if you could get into a good place with a good landlord, have some amenities, washer and dryer,
right,
or some parking,
wireless,
a big thing. I tell my daughters, if they were to ever leave, we have washer and dryer in the units. I'd let them have a pet. And everybody and their mother has a pet nowadays.
Yes.
whether it be a dog or cat, and a lot of landlords don't want them. And they question it. When I have here's a plug for Chris over at the Sequelcus Animal Shelter, but when I have an apartment that'll take a pet, I call her up and say, if you have anybody, they're willing to take a pet, and they go like that, and they don't mind paying, and they don't mind paying. But some places, they don't offer anything. You don't have a parking space. You don't have laundry. You get all separate utilities. And oh, by the way, give me $2,500.
Yeah, I know. Imagine that.
Go park 3 blocks away.
Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard. And sometimes they're just a little too selective who they want. You can't find me an older retired person who's just one person, or no, not today. What do you expect? I don't want any babies. Well, I can't.
You can't discriminate.
I can't discriminate. No, the only color I like to see is green. That's the only thing.
That's right.
And that's what I tell them. And some people, it's unfortunate, but this day and age, old school, I guess.
Yeah, certainly.
But
you got anything else in that pile there for us?
Oh, I got all kinds of good stuff. But two families are averaging over almost 800,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, it's crazy. But look, the two families are where people want to go. I have a couple 2 families right now that are under contract. One is under contract for 70,000 over asking.
Wow.
When you see that, we just seen a couple of houses that on one house that another agent sold on New Street. And if you're familiar with New Streets, they have those type of
I love New
ranch
Street.
style,
Yep.
And it sold for $680. It was listed for $620.
Wow.
And it's nothing crazy.
Well, because they're mostly smaller homes on New Street.
And
Lovely. Yeah, ranch style. Yeah.
But it's what I like to say. There's to the owners, there's your price, there's my price, and there's what somebody's willing to pay.
Right.
And what you're willing to accept. So it doesn't become an exact science, but the way you look at it, and there's articles on NJ.com. You see them a lot of towns like Nutley and Montclair, where these homes are setting records, going hundreds of thousands over asking. And I go, well, my first thought about that is then the agent didn't do their homework. Because if somebody's bidding $200,000 and it's appraising out for that much, where did you come up with that number? And that's taking a big gamble. Going, all right, we're going to list it at $699. Nowhere we're going to get $899. That's $200,000. I could say you want to list it at $800 and probably get $899. That's a little bit. It's kind of a big gamble, but those are in these type of markets. And if you got a good again, it comes back to good product. And even though it may be a little bit underpriced, you're still going to draw a lot of people in the neighborhood or where you may be. But we've seen, I remember, 2-3 years ago during COVID, 2020, I was circling the wagons, seeing where we were going to go with this.
Yeah, right.
Where it's going to happen. And I had a great year, 2020. 21, I doubled. 22, I doubled that. Wow. And I was like, holy moly, what, I was going to use another expletive, but I figured it's a family show,
We get the point, yeah.
But, and so 2023 came around and slowed down a little bit, and almost like we had to take a breath, okay, I could slow down a little bit. But then you look and going, oh, I got something more. But 2024, it just, people are realizing that if the rates are going to fluctuate, they're not going to fluctuate like they did. And in an election year, you may see it come down a little bit because they want to, pump their numbers and show, look what we're doing or whatnot. But in the main aspect of it, it is around the national average for the past 30 years. Really, it really is. It's nothing, because we were talking before. My first house was 11%. You were saying numbers where it was 18 when we were kids.
Yeah.
And, the prices were a lot lower now, but it's hard to get in a good neighborhood and not have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's very true.
The days of finding a bargain are, because I deal with flippers a lot, and they're paying $450, $430, $450 for one family homes. They're taking them as is, no inspections. You could leave what you want, take what you want. You don't have to do anything. And I get a lot of that. I have a stable full of buyers just looking. John, you get something, call me. You have something like this, call me. My son's looking, call me. My kid just got married. He's living with us for now, but we're honestly looking. If you have something that's off market, and it works. I think the past 4 homes I've sold like that, they didn't even hit the market.
Wow.
They didn't even hit the market. and getting good numbers. Not, you know, and for a house that was built in the early 1900s, 1915, hasn't not really done much to it. Maybe been updated in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
So you're still looking at even, and to be able to walk away and not have to do a thing and still get a number that's over 400,000.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good.
And not have to worry. And the only thing unfortunate about what's happening with me is I'm dealing with a lot of people I grew up with where their mom or dad unfortunately can't live in the house anymore, or they had since passed, and it's a tough thing, and it's hard, and it's hard to see, I mean, knock on wood, my mom's still alive, but lost my dad, and my wife's parents are gone. So, to have to go through that is tough enough. So for me, I love to make money, but it's about helping people. And now I have a house that I have under contract on Octavia Place in Lyndhurst, and for those of you who don't know, it's off of Kingsland Avenue. They live in Ohio. The brother lives out in Scranton, I think, PA. He's not well. They're in their 70s. Their mother's 94.
Oh, wow.
In a nursing home. I just sold their car for them. Like, I don't mean that I sold physically. They're like, John, we have a buyer for Mom's car. You think you could go there? So here I am, opening the car, helping the guy jumpstart the car, taking the payment, right? But if I wasn't there, how do these people get this stuff done? And for me, I want people to understand it's not all about just making money. It's not about the commission check. It's about the relationships that I can build with my clients, and which usually turn into being a friendship. And they can call me at any time and ask me a question, or whether it be pertaining to the sale, or whether it be pertaining, do you remember this person or that? And it gives me a sense of satisfaction. I'm not trying to play the hero. I'm not saving lives. Don't get me wrong. But if I can make somebody's life a little easier and save them some money in the meantime, I'd do it. I'm not about the commission. It's not about that. It's about getting people to where they want to go. And like you said, we talked about before, when you're buying a home or selling a home, it's probably the biggest transaction you're ever going to do in your life. Not everybody does it. I do it every day.
Yeah.
And I would sell every one of my homes today if my wife would let me. Why? Because I don't know. It's what I do.
That's what you do.
It's what I do. My wife says absolutely not. But if again, like, if I can help somebody and make their lives a little easier, I have another house on 8th Street that's right off of Kingsland, right around the corner. But, the mother's 92, the brother's 70-something. He wants to go to Palm Springs. The sister, they own a house together, she wants to go to Tom's River. And here I am trying to facilitate, looking at contracts from coming from California, just looking at them going, Frank, it looks okay to me, but, because they don't deal with the same type of transaction that we do in New Jersey with the attorneys and stuff. A lot of places, the agents and the title companies handle everything. Mm-hmm. So all the legal jargon, you got to be up on it. And if you're not, you could be. So I'm helping him try to get his house. I'm helping her try to get her house in Tom's River. In the meantime, every time I go there, they're all the Italian mothers wanting to cook me something. Of course, I don't ever miss a meal, but but it's just it's that good sense that I can help them, and I can help them, do what they need to do to move on with their lives, no matter what stage of their life they are, whether if they're flippers trying to make a profit, or kids starting out going from upgrading from their home, or people transitioning to retirement, or to the great unknown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's a lot of satisfaction. I like to help people, and it's more about that than anything. I love to make the money, but
Yeah, of course. Well, you're a true Lyndhurst guy. I think that's what makes Lyndhurst so special.
Oh yeah.
It's a town where everybody's always there, ready to help you. And,
Well, that's why my mechanic is Carbone, why my plumber is Carbone. And my Tillow's my electrician. And just my favorite restaurants, Angelo's and Casa Giuseppe.
Yeah.
And Vinny Mutz for my
Vinny
mozzarella.
Mutz, of course.
But you want to be able to you want to take care of your own, and you come to Lyndhurst, I think you'll be made to feel like you're at home. My greatest memory of my house, my neighbor across the street, Juan, he moved from New York, got his daughter bought a house around on Watson Avenue or Webster. He comes over Christmas Eve knocking on my door, because when we moved in, we gave him a little care package. We just left it on this thing. I won't take credit. It's my wife.
Wow, that's very nice.
My better
yes.
half. I get some part of it. But so he comes knocking on my door, and it was Christmas Eve, and I had my mom there, and it was just like a little open house. And we're like, come on in. We spent a couple hours with us, ate. We popped open a bottle, and bought us a bottle of Patron, and we were just, it was nice. And you know what? It's that neighborhood feeling that you always get, So we try to know all our neighbors, and we try to welcome the new ones to come into town. And it's different from when we grow up, but they're still good people.
Absolutely.
And when you're paying $500,000-$600,000 for a house, you're doing something right.
You absolutely
You're
are
doing something right, and I give them all the credit in the world. And for me, it feels good that the sellers got the numbers, and then we got somebody new coming into the neighborhood, and fortunately for me, I don't have to go far because all my business is in Lyndhurst. And you're asking me, I just since COVID, just so the numbers don't lie, and is the number one guys. This is from beginning of
wow
1/1/2021, 68 2020. I'm sorry, to today. I sold 68 homes, over 32 million. Average days on the market only 27%.
That's great.
Over 100% of the asking price to the sold price.
Wow.
And what makes it good, and what the difference is the fact that that's out of 753 different agents that have sold in the town.
And you're number one.
I'm number one.
That's beautiful.
Number one
I love
something,
it.
Brian. I don't know,
That's
but
great.
the thing that gets me more than anything is, and we got a lot of good agents on there. If we went back 15 years ago, there was you'd see 15 agents.
Really?
You wouldn't see what you have today. I mean, and it's a good thing for the industry, but the industry is really saturated. Everybody and their mother's got a real estate license, or their cousin, or whatnot. So if we went back in time, you wouldn't see as much. It's crazy. But with the new influx of people that are coming in, what's good about this is trying to get people to understand and know who I am, and know that if I'm in the process of doing a different, not branching out, still staying in the business, but branching out a little bit in regards to a newer company. It's going to be called Ridge Home Services.
Oh.
And all is going to be is like a consultation firm, whether it be questions about your mortgage, whether it be questions about your value of your house. Do you need an appraiser? Are you looking for a contractor? What do you need? And I'm going to try to incorporate a lot of guys that we know from town, whether it be local landscapers, local electricians, local plumbers, and here's their card. Give them a call. And just an added thing, if you need a realtor, obviously I'm here.
Right, of course.
But just to help people, because there's a lot. You'd be surprised how much people do not know about their own home.
Yeah, I've seen some people like that.
Just the inner workings of how your home was built, or the style of home you have, or what type of electrical service you have, or what kind of a panel do you have, or what's knob and tube wiring. I go, that's what you got all over your attic.
Yeah.
So and that may be
lead pipes and all that. It's another one.
Exactly. What you now have copper coming in, you got lead, and what's the difference between hot water and steam heat? Or the difference between a boiler and a furnace.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Sure.
But it's just something that I've felt that I think the public could use, and
I think it sounds great.
It's just in the very, not very, very beginning stages, but I got my web guys working on it, getting ready to put it under the umbrella of the LLC of the company. So it'll be something that when it comes to fruition and it comes out, I'll let you know about it.
Good. Let me know, because we'll talk about it on the show a little bit more. That sounds wonderful, John. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But so it's real estate's been very good to me. It's something I love to do, and it's probably the only place I have the most sanity and most patience for. My wife is unbelievable. She goes, I can't believe how you handle it. When I hang up the phone and
then
I go,
then you let it fly, right?
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and a lot of people do not know about the business. And before you went out and just met any buyer's agent or met you need to know about the process. You need to know about what happens during a transaction, how this goes down, what happens when we get a contract, what happens during a attorney review, and that needs to be explained up front. Because this way, when you're getting there and you go, remember when we talked about this, when I was in your kitchen for an hour or 2 hours, we talked about this, this, and this? And they go, yeah. I go, here it is. Because the real estate transactions usually go the same plane. They usually follow the same way. That the parties change. And some change as far as the type of loan and stuff like that, but you got to get from A to Z. And everything in the middle, that's where that's where I come in. I like to call it, when my wife owned the yoga center, we used to have a guy who did Tai Chi. It was like, always just keep the plane, just keep it going, keep that train on the track, just move it forward. Nice and easy. And that's my job. Make sure that train keeps moving. We get from point A to point Z, and you're happy, and everybody's happy at the end, But when you don't know the process, and it's not about putting that sign out on the lawn or getting a contract signed. You need to go through this. They need to be educated on this. You need to make them feel secure in what you're telling them and what you're feeling. I equate it to when I used to have my lunch trucks, and I used to say I wouldn't make a sandwich that I wouldn't eat myself. Okay, and I feel the same way. But I also tell people, look, if I don't have to pay the mortgage and I don't have to live in the house, but I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with it before we even get there. I had one friend of ours who grew up the hill. I don't know if I should say names or anything. It's not, but his wife said, John doesn't want us to buy a house. And he said, no, whatever. And he goes, no. He goes, he's helping you. You would have bought the first house you seen. Wouldn't that have been easy? Didn't you feel like that would have been easy if you would have bought the first house you seen? But he pointed out so much stuff, right? And she goes, yeah, I guess you're right. And that's, it's not just standing around letting people, because they don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But if I point out the crack in the wall, or the foundation, or the Federal Pacific electrical panel, which is outdated, it's obsolete, you can't get insurance on them. People, they don't know that. Or the oil tank that's under the ground, people don't know that. Or do we set a sweep for an oil tank to make sure, because the majority of homes had one or still do, and if you don't know that, and you don't have somebody directing you or helping you, it's like, you blind reading the blind.
Yeah. It's so true.
It's not something, and I like to say too, you know what, we're not buying a TV.
Right.
Because you could go out and pick 5 different TVs at the same 65-inch and the same type of price, just no matter which one you want.
Yeah.
A house is different. They're all different. They all have different things. You got to know what to look for. Because if, unfortunately for me, I used to follow the inspectors around when I first started. Because I can tell you everything about a house. I can't build your house. Right. I can't cut a straight line. I don't know. Right. I took, Mr. Danino's wood shop class, at Lincoln School.
Right,
and
next door. Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and going, man, but I can tell you what's what. I can tell you what we have to look out for, this, when you're on the second floor and it's a little slope and you're going, all right, we got to go in the basement, got to look at that main beam because something's sloping to this point. And they look at you like, really? I go, yeah. Yeah. But I love this bathroom. And I go, oh yeah, when you're sliding down the tub because it's going down to Georgia Street, that's what happens, And I don't mean the house is going to fall down, but it's something that
it's an issue and it's got to be addressed.
And for resale value,
sure.
If you're going to decide you're going to buy, you want to make sure that you're in a house, number one, you can afford. Number one. Number two is that the residual value down the road is going to get back what you put into it.
Sure.
So if you're paying, like we talked about before, there's people buying houses for $550,000. Now, let me just put that in better perspective. That's $500,000. Okay? So you may not realize it, but it's $500,000, and then you're going to put another 100, 150 into it. You better be staying there.
Yeah. You have to. Sure.
You better be staying there because you may not get back that $650. Because if you're going to stay there 5 years, things are going to get broken.
You never know with the market, sure.
Yeah, and you don't know. History has shown us, unless we get a complete collapse like 2008, 2007, around that area, history's shown us you've always, but how much? And if you did the renovations 20 years ago and put all that money in, those renovations are obsolete now.
That's right.
So that number's not going to go any higher. It's only going to go so far because the renovations are from 2000.
Yeah.
And there are styles that come in and go out. They go from brushed nickel to now gold is back.
Yeah,
in.
I've seen it. I see all these color changes. It's crazy.
Where the color palettes used to be gray was the big thing.
Gray was the big thing. Back in the 70s, everything was rust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and so you have to make sure the money that you're putting in is gonna be able to pull what you're gonna be able to pull that out,
right.
and hopefully then some.
Right. Well,
I don't know if there's anything else.
That's all good stuff, and
I could go on all day.
No, I know we could. I don't know the attention span of listeners today. Although my listeners are good, I check my analytics, and people pretty much they tune out as soon as they hear the Honeymooners theme coming out. They say, "Yeah, it's the best part."
I generally, for me to help people and to sell homes is what I love to do. It's nothing, and I'm not crushing. I'm breaking concrete all day. I don't claim to be working but the brain works and it never shuts off. And although I muted a couple calls while we were on this, I always pick up. You never have to worry. And I'm not afraid to say when I'm wrong, and I'm not afraid to apologize. And that's a big thing today. And I'm going to leave you with one thing that comes for me. I say this a lot, I'll never sell my integrity for a commission check. It's just worth it. If there's anything else I have in my life, it's one thing I have. And I've worked hard over the 56 years to make it right. Not 54, 56 years. So
that's great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everybody knows your reputation. You were very highly regarded. And again, this was great. Thank you for taking the time today.
I loved it. It was good catching up with you.
Yeah, same here.
We connected down the park a couple of weeks ago. It was great.
Yeah, it's not like years ago where I'd see you driving up 2nd Avenue 10 times a day.
I know.
Because you were driving a limo too at one time, weren't you? You owned a limo.
We owned a limo.
Yeah.
Me, Carlos, and Danny Stack. I think we hired one of our friends' fathers, Michael Vosa's father. He used to drive for us, and that's where we went out. We were being responsible, but if those limo walls could talk, I guess, But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I've had my hand in a few. I guess I'm a true entrepreneur.
You definitely are. I mean, all throughout life. Between you had Duke's Dogs, which was legendary. Everybody knew Duke's Dogs.
That was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
And I miss that. Of course, I'm not up that late to go out for food like I used to. But
I miss it too. You know what? Then when I had the other truck in the mornings, I was just telling Kenny Sparta, who was a dear friend of mine. I said, you know what I miss? I miss seeing my friends come down. Because even though I was working, we'd have a cup of coffee, I'd make them breakfast, we'd talk, we'd BS, and a lot of guys from the DPW would come down, and they're in the Parks Department. They're all close friends of mine, and, I enjoyed that. And that's what I miss about it, So I make it a point to try to get all my buddies together or, every so often, and I do make phone calls, a lot of phone calls, talk to people, So that's I've been in my own business for a long time.
You've done it all, and everything you've done well, John.
Yeah, we tried. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So listen, again, thank you so much for joining us. I know the listening audience appreciates all of that because there's really no news in the summer. So now we give them facts. We give them information that is valuable to them.
Yeah. It's CRS sells. CRSsales.com.
CRSsales.com. And don't worry, it'll be in the description box below, everybody. If you're going to want to buy a house, sell a house, or if you have any questions about anything regarding the house process, call John.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your summer. Be safe, and we love Lyndhurst.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, there you have it. That was our interview with John Duke Cappiello, Lyndhurst Realtor. And I will leave his phone number, his email address in the description box below. So if any of you are thinking about buying or selling a home or looking to rent, give John a call. He will help you out. Nobody knows this town and this market better than John. So again, thank you, John. And to all of you, hope, the summer's flying by already. It's going to be August next week. Hard to believe. I always say that the summer is over after July 4th because it just goes by in a flash. Next thing we know, it'll be Labor Day. Kids will be back to school. Fall sports will be in motion. And organizations, clubs, churches, everybody's going to be back in action doing their thing. And that means that we will have plenty to report to you right here. So I won't see you next week, but I'll see you in 2 weeks with another special episode. And again, if there is specific news, I will share it. But remember to always change the batteries on your smoke detectors and on the CO2 detectors because they save lives. Remember to support our wonderful volunteers in this town, volunteer firemen, volunteer EMTs, and get to know your neighbors, look after your elderly neighbors, and run to the store for them, especially when it's really hot. So stay cool, everybody, and of course it wouldn't be the same without our famous outgoing music. So, until then, this is Brian Haggerty wishing you all a very wonderful remaining of July. May God bless you and our wonderful community. See you then.